Face the Nation moderator John Dickerson joins us from Washington. John, great to see you. As the president tries to solidify his legacy, how much is riding on this last State of the Union speech?
Well, in the short term, not much is riding on it. It's his last one, so his political capital that you have in office has mostly dwindled away. You know, there were State of the Unions that he gave in the middle of his presidency that didn't really affect the sweep of things. So it won't have much to do in the short term. In the long term, though, it's his chance to give a kind of first crack at defining his legacy, give the long form version of his presidency, what it amounts to, and how it fits in the scope of history. So that, say, some number of years from now, when people look back on the Obama presidency, if there is a line in this speech, if there is a framing device in this speech that makes sense, it will be his ability to kind of shape the narrative of what people think about the Obama years.
So President Obama will most likely use tonight to frame who he thinks should succeed him after his term, presumably a Democrat. But at this point, what sort of influence do you think he has on the 2016 race?
Well, he doesn't have much influence that in a positive sense, which is to say that if he says something, it's unlikely to sway the voters, because, again, he hasn't had much success swaying people's opinions with these kinds of speeches, even when he was talking about his own agenda. And so I think that will largely continue to be the case throughout this year in terms of influencing the race. There will certainly be moments where if he says something that Republicans think they can use to harm the eventual Democratic nominee, they will jump on it, because not only whatever he says will be an issue, but whoever the Democratic nominee is will have to be playing a careful balancing game, because they want to embrace Obama enough to get his voters in the coalition he was able to turn out, which is was quite a thing in those two elections, but also they want to stand up and be their own person. And so anything Republicans can use from the president during this year could be a problem for Democrats, but that's an unintended way of influencing the race, not the kind that the president would actually want to do.
John, speaking of the Democratic race, some interesting poll numbers are coming out. We see Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders running side by side in both Iowa and New Hampshire. Can Clinton survive if she doesn't win these first two states?
She can survive. It'll be ugly and bumpy. And there was a period where Democrats said it would be great if Hillary Clinton had a real race, because then she could emerge as a victor, having won something, having kind of shown people that there are actual voters out there who are willing to sweat and work hard for her, that it wasn't just a coronation. Well, she's getting more of a workout than she probably wanted. But if she were to lose those first two, it would be a big blow. But she does have organizations in those future states. In South Carolina and Nevada, for example, she's got real strength. And then going out throughout the rest of the calendar, she has a real organization where Bernie Sanders doesn't have as much of a one. Now, he would, presumably, if he won Iowa and New Hampshire, he would have a real kind of brush fire burning that he will have started, and that will certainly bring out voters to help him. That could put a challenge to her organization, but she has got a structure in place that could withstand some losses, although, believe me, they don't want to lose in either place.
Turning to the Republican race now, the candidates on the main stage for the next debate have been set. Fight night before February 1st, which is the Iowa caucuses. So this is the last chance that these candidates have to really make a powerful impact and leave a good impression. What do you expect to see on Thursday? I know there's a lot of jostling around in the second place sort of level. What do you think we'll see?
Well, we'll see two basic competitions, one between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. They looked like they might get into it at the last debate, and then they didn't. They had a kind of détente. Now they're back and forth, kind of sniping each other on the campaign trail. Will Donald Trump keep talking about Ted Cruz? Is the question of whether he's eligible to be president. How will Ted Cruz respond? So that's one thing to watch. The other is to watch everybody else, people who are trying to be the non-Trump, non-Cruz alternative. And they have to sort themselves out, because for those candidates, they need the field to winnow so they can get enough votes to actually be competitive in Iowa and New Hampshire. And so the most heat is likely to be in that group. And what's important there is not just whatever paint they can scrape off of their opponents, but what the defining template is for evaluating those opponents. So, in other words, if it's about executive experience, The governors would like it to be about that, to hurt Rubio and to some extent Cruz. If it's about foreign policy expertise, Rubio would like that. He's a little bit more facile with those subjects. The governors are not. So it depends on the skirmish, but it also depends on who can frame the choice for voters as they go into the voting booth. Hopefully, of course, they hope to put the frame in such a way that it's most advantageous to them.
All right, a lot to look forward to this week. John Dickerson in Washington for us. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Well, stick with CBSN. We'll have full coverage of President Obama's last State of the Union address starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. His speech is at 9, and after that, we'll have full analysis.